What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Untitled Universe for another action figure comparison.
And in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the S.H Figuarts Endgame Thanos, and we're going to see how he compares to the Marvel Select Endgame Thanos. And before we get too deep into this, I want to go ahead and say that this video is not going to include the Marvel Legends version because I really wasn't a big fan of that. I ended up selling it right after I did the comparison video with the S.H Figuarts version. So if you want to see how those two compare, you could go ahead and check that out. That's on my channel now. But to be honest with you, I really don't think that that figure was very good. I feel like Hasbro dropped the ball, and either one of these two would be a better option to pick up if you're looking for an Endgame Thanos. But, you know, that's out of the way, so let's go ahead and get into this. So, starting off with the overall look and design of the two figures. First off, I really love the way that the armor looks on the Marvel Select one. I like how it looks all grimy and war-torn, and it looks like he's actually gone to war, so that's awesome. On the Figuarts one, I feel like it's a little bit too shiny and too clean. It looks like he just polished it or just like pulled it out of the closet or something. It doesn't look like he's been fighting very much in this armor, but I do think it looks beautiful. I like the sculpting work on it, and the gold really does look nice. It stands out on the shelf because it looks very clean and really cool. But the Diamond Select one, I just love the way that armor, like that grimy, dirty armor, looks like he was like in the trenches, you know, looks like Cap just whooped his ass with that hammer. So that's cool. I love the way that the armor looks on the Diamond Select one. And I just love the fact that it looks so beat up. So I think that's very, very cool. And the sculpting work is very well done on both of these. I think the sculpting work on the Diamond Select one is better. It seems to like have more depth to it, and you know, all the details are a little bit deeper. On the S.H Figuarts one, they're not as deep, which is kind of surprising. You would think that the sculpting work on this one would be much more impressive than on the Diamond Select one right away. But yeah, the Diamond Select one has this really nice sculpting work with a lot of depth, and there's just a lot of really cool things going on there. The Figuarts one doesn't really have that. It looks a little bit smoother than it should in certain sections, so that's kind of surprising. But yeah, I think both figures look good. There are a couple of things that kind of catch my attention on the Marvel Select one. I feel like he might be a little too skinny in some areas. I mean, he doesn't overall look skinny. I think just looking at him, he looks big and imposing, and he looks good. But I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like maybe his legs are too long, and it's making it look like he's actually thinner than he really is. I don't know if that makes sense. And it's really only from some angles. Like, for the most part, he looks big and badass, but I think the proportions might be a little bit better on the S.H Figuarts one. So that's definitely an advantage for the Figuarts one. I think the proportions are definitely there, but I don't think the sculpting work is as nice as it is on the Diamond Select one. The Diamond Select one, man, they really went for it on the sculpting work. It's very well done and really, really detailed. Some of the paint, I guess, could have been a little bit cleaner. Like, there's some things that look sloppy. There's some parts that look intentionally sloppy, you know, to give you that battle kind of look, that war-torn look. But there's some areas where it just looks like it might have missed. Like on the back, it looks like it might have missed some areas that they were going for. We don't have that problem on the Figuarts one. It's all very clean, and you know, all the paint is where it's supposed to be. So that's dope. And then one more thing that stands out that has to be addressed is the fact that the S.H Figuarts one has the Infinity Gauntlet. And as you probably know, that's not accurate to the movie. There wasn't any part in Endgame where he was dressed up in this armor and had this gauntlet. So, you know, obviously they made this figure very early in the process, and that's what we ended up with. I mean, it looks very cool. I like the gold on the gauntlet. It looks dope, but you know, it's inaccurate. The Diamond Select version actually gave us an Infinity Gauntlet, but it also gave us an option to not have the Infinity Gauntlet, which is more accurate. So that's really, really good. And as far as the faces go, I think the Marvel Select did a way better job, to be honest with you. The Figuarts one looks okay, but it looks a little plain. Some of the details are lost in the sculpt. There's not a lot of paint variation going on in there, but the Marvel Select one has a lot of nice paint work on the face. For instance, you have the eyes that are a different color than the skin, so they stand out. On the Figuarts one, it's hard to even see the eyes. Yeah, they're a different color, but you could barely see them. They're kind of lost in the face sculpt. So I've never been crazy with the way the eyes look on either version of the Figuarts Thanos figures. I think they could do a better job there, but the Marvel Select one looks really cool in the eyes, and he also has different color lips, so that stands out a little bit. And then there's a paint wash on the lower half of the face, so you could see those lines in his chin a little bit better. The Figuarts one has the lines too, but you can't see them as well because there's no paint detail. And there's a detail on the Marvel Select one that the Figuarts one left off completely. The Marvel Select actually has the lines on the cheeks. They come down to the upper part of his lip. The Figuarts one doesn't have that at all, so that's kind of interesting. I didn't even notice that until I got the Marvel Select one. So Yeah, man, I'll be honest with you. As far as the face sculpt goes, I think the Marvel Select one destroyed the Figure Arts one. And pretty much in general, when it comes to the overall look, I think the Diamond Select did a better job with it. The only thing that I dislike, and a lot of people dislike it, is the color of the shoes. That should have been gold. But aside from that, this figure is much more accurate than the Figure Arts one. He doesn't have the gauntlet. His armor looks war-torn like it did in the movie. The Figure Arts one looks great, but it's just too clean and too nice. The sculpt is not as detailed as the Marvel Select one, and it just doesn't look as cool as the Select one. I think the Select one does a better job of capturing the look that Thanos had in the movie, and you know, the Figure Arts one is a nice looking figure, but it doesn't look like he did in the movie. So as far as the overall design goes, I'm going to give it to the Marvel Select. And as far as the accessories go, that's where it kind of gets a little tricky, because the Figure Arts version definitely comes with a lot more. He's got multiple sets of hands. We have some fists, we have some open hands, we have some flat open hands so he could show off his gauntlet, and then he has 3 different faces. We've got a stoic face, we've got an angry face, and then we have a smiling face. And it's really cool that he has all those 3 different facial options, because those are all emotions he conveyed in the movie, so that's dope. And then he also has his weapon. And then the Marvel Select one doesn't really have all those cool accessories. He does have his weapon, and then he does have an interchangeable hand so you could display him with or without the gauntlet. And I think that's awesome, because it didn't really have to include the gauntlet for it to be movie accurate. It should have included the power gauntlet. I think that would have been even better. But as is, at least you could display him without the gauntlet, and you can't do that with the Figure Arts one. And both Infinity Gauntlets are very well done. Obviously, they each match the armor style of the figure that they come with. Like the Marvel Select one is a little bit more grimy and beat up, and the Figure Arts one is a little bit more shiny and gold and stuff like that. But they both look good. I think that the Marvel Select one has a little bit more paint detail, and it's a little bit easier to tell the different colors between the stones or gems or whatever you want to call them. And on the Figure Arts one, they look cool because they're clear and they look more realistic and all that good stuff, but it's kind of hard to tell the difference in color on the last two, you know. But I think they're both very well done. As far as his weapon goes, it's kind of a wash because both of them are pretty inaccurate, which is kind of crazy when it comes to the Marvel Select, because their figure came out after the movie. I know that, like, with production and stuff like that, it might be hard to go in there and adjust fire to make it more accurate, but I mean, it came out way after the Figure Arts one, so you would think that they'd be at least a little more accurate, but it seems like, I mean, both of them are inaccurate, so it doesn't even matter. But I would say that the Figure Arts one looks a little bit more like it did in the movie. Still way wrong, but I guess it got it closer. But still, in my opinion, both of these are wrong, so they both failed in this regard. So I do feel like the Marvel Select made the wiser choices as far as the accessories go. It would have been cool if there was some more extra hands and extra heads and all that stuff. But the most important thing is the accessories that he did come with makes it so that we could display him in a movie accurate way. The Figure Arts one can't do that. So he does come with a bunch of cool stuff. So, you know, it's really up to you. Do you want like a movie accurate? Do you want a Thanos that has the accessories to make him movie accurate, or to give him his gauntlet, which is an iconic thing for Thanos? Or do you want a Thanos that has a bunch of hands and multiple faces? It's really up to you. For me, I prefer to have the option to display him in a movie accurate way, but I do wish that he had you know, multiple hands and heads and stuff like that. So I don't know, it's a tough one. At the end of the day, I'd probably say that the Figure Arts one wins in accessories, but they should have done something about that gauntlet hand. They should have given us an interchangeable arm like the Diamond Select one. So, you know, it's kind of a funny category there. I almost want to say it's like a wash, because the Figure Arts definitely has more, but the Marvel Select has the more important one. So, you know, it's up to you. And as far as the scale goes, it gets a little crazy here too, because both of these figures are completely different scales. The Marvel Select one is a 7-inch scale figure, and the Figure Arts one is a 6-inch scale, but it's like a true 6-inch scale, which means it's a little bit smaller than something like Marvel Legends or whatever. So I do feel like these figures do fit in well with figures in their own line. As you can see here, Thanos looks pretty good next to the Infinity War Captain America. Figure Arts Thanos looks great next to a Figure Arts Captain America figure. And I would say that I think that the Marvel Select one is a little too big to fit in with Legends. In the center there, we have the worthy Captain America, and Thanos looks like a freaking giant next to him. Now, for me, that's okay. I would definitely make that work, and I would prefer Thanos being bigger rather than smaller, but I do feel like the Figure Arts one, even though he looks smaller, that's probably closer to the height difference in those two characters in the movie. I mean, Thanos is big, but he's not like twice his size. He's almost twice his size for the Marvel Select one. I still don't think the Figure Arts one is very compatible with Marvel Legends, but I would say it's a little bit closer than Marvel Select for most people. But for me, I would prefer the bigger Marvel Select figure to go with my Legends or whatever. But to be honest with you, there's pretty much no way that you could fit him in with Figure Arts. He's way too big. I mean, Thanos is big, but, you know, I'm not sure exactly what his height is, but I know he's not, I mean, he's not that big next to the other characters, is he? I don't know. Someone let me know. Let me know in the comments. What do you guys think? Do you think this is a good height difference between these two characters? Or is Cap just way too small right here and Thanos would just squash him like a bug? I think he, like I said, it sort of works with Marvel Legends. So, you know, because Marvel Legends are typically a little bit bigger than Figure Arts figures. So me personally, I would try to make that work only because, you know, I love this Captain America figure. So I would try to make this Thanos try to work with that. And I think it would be a little bit easier for me than it would to try to get this Thanos to look more imposing and badass next to this Captain America. And let me just show you the Select next to the Figure Arts. And yeah, that's not going to work at all. Captain America is almost the same height as him. So yeah, you know, as far as scale goes, I think each figure scales pretty well with their own lines. And, you know, that's all you could really ask for. There's not a whole bunch of crossover potential here. You could make either one work, except for you probably can't make Figure Arts and Marvel Select work, but you can make Figure Arts work with Marvel Legends. You could also make the Marvel Select work if you really wanted to, but neither one of them is quite perfectly compatible with Marvel Legends. And as far as the articulation goes, realistically, there's not a whole lot of competition in this department. The Figure Arts one has much better articulation. He's got double jointed elbows, double jointed knees. He's got a toe articulation. He's got a foot swivel. He's got 2 joints in the torso. So he's got a lot of good stuff going on. He's got like a double neck joint. So you could definitely get him into a lot of really good poses. But the Marvel Select one doesn't necessarily have bad articulation. He just doesn't have as much as the Figure Arts one. But I will say that he does have one thing that the Figure Arts one lacks, and that would be the upper bicep swivel. So I'll definitely give it credit for that, but, you know, overall, it's not really enough to compete with the articulation on the Figure Arts one. Oh, one more thing I'll say, too. I do find it a little easier to use Thanos' legs on the Marvel Select one because it has that upper thigh swivel, so you could definitely get him into a sitting down pose a little bit easier, which that's pretty essential, you know, because a lot of times people are going to want to have Thanos sitting down in some type of chair. Unfortunately, I don't have like a big, cool stone throne. All I have is my Pale Man chair. But I was able to get Thanos to sit in there a little bit easier than I was able to get the Figure Arts one to sit down, even though the Figure Arts one is smaller and should fit in there easier. I feel like his legs are a little bit more difficult to deal with if you're trying to do a sitting pose. But other than that, and any other need that you'd want out of the articulation, the Figure Arts one is going to give it to you better than the Marvel Select one. Alright guys, so now it's time to make a decision here, but let's go ahead and do a very quick recap. As far as the overall look and design goes, I would say that the Figure Arts one has better proportions, but that's about it. In every other aspect of the design, I would say that Marvel Select did a better job. I think the sculpting work is better. It has more details. I like the colors more. I think it feels more movie accurate. I think that there's a lot more details in the face that stand out a lot more than they do on the Figure Arts version. But I will say that it's nice that the Figure Arts one has more display options because it comes with multiple heads. But every single one of them isn't as detailed as the Marvel Select one. I think they did a way better job with the sculpt. And the fact that he doesn't have the gauntlet is a big plus because it makes it more movie accurate. So in general, I just feel like the Marvel Select one gave us a more movie accurate Thanos figure. And then as far as the accessories go, that gets a little tricky because the Figure Arts one does have a lot of cool stuff, multiple hands, faces, all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, you can't display a movie accurate Figure Arts Endgame Thanos because it doesn't give you the option with the accessories. They could have given you an interchangeable hand, then we would have been good to go, but as is, he doesn't have that. The Marvel Select one does have that, but that's pretty much all he has. So I kind of want to say, as far as the accessories go, it's a wash. Both of them come with inaccurate weapons. Figure Arts one comes with more things, but the Marvel Select one comes with the more important things. So I don't know. I want to say that it's a wash there. As far as the scale goes, I would probably say that you'd probably have an easier time fitting the Figure Arts version in with your 6-inch figures. But I think that I like the way that the Diamond Select one is bigger and imposing. I think he looks just fine next to figures. So it's really a matter of preference right there. As far as the articulation goes, I would say that I would give that to the Figure Arts one. With a few exceptions, he pretty much has superior articulation. So at the end of the day, I know that people are going to hate me for this, but honestly, all in all, if I was in the store and I had both of these in my hand, I would probably walk out with the Marvel Select one. I think that he looks more movie accurate. I like the size of him, and I think he's a badass figure. And on top of that, he's $100 cheaper than the Figure Arts one. Now, if they were both the exact same price, I might be a little bit more conflicted, but I'd probably still walk out with the Marvel Select one. Again, I know people are going to disagree with that, but I just think it does its job better. So, at the end of the day, I'm going to say that I like the Marvel Select one much better than the Figure Arts one. So I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to let me know which one of these two figures you like more. I look forward to reading that in the comments, and I'd also like to know the reasons why, so be sure to leave all that down there in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Thank you very much. Peace.